Good afternoon, everyone. Ankita, if you please confirm, am I audible clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much. So we'll start the session in a moment. Okay, so first of all, a very warm welcome. Now I'm going to start the session. And as we all know, the session which we are conducting, it's basically from the CBSE, which is in the partnership with Microsoft. And being a global training partner, we are conducting these sessions. So thank you for being with us. And most of the participants, they already joined the session like, yesterday, where we completed the first session of the coding. That was the introduction. Okay, so now in today's session, we will be talking about the chapter 2 and what do you mean by algorithm with block coding. So in continuation of the first session, we are learning the chapter 2 here. Okay, and I would also like to tell you from where you can download all the resources, the PPT, the student handbook, and the teacher handbook, right? Though I already explained yesterday also, but maybe it's not clear, or maybe some of the participants, they are new, like maybe they are joining first time, like in today's session. So let me just tell you how you are going to find all the resources, or you will get all the resources. So the site that we are already aware, that is, let me just write it down, CBSE academic.nic.in, that we all know. I'm going to press enter. So first we all need to open the CBSE academic.nic.in, and from here we need to just look for this option, that is skill education. Now when I click on it, from here you need to select the last option or the last tab which says coding and data science. So let me click on the coding portion here. Now you see that class wise all the material, it's available. Like one is a student book, so you may give or allocate all these student handbook to all the students. Second is your project booklet, so there are some activities, so you may refer, even students may also refer. The third one is your faculty handbook, so faculty will get the guidance from this handbook, like how they need to teach and what all they need to teach, what all topics that it need to cover, how many periods that will be allocated for certain topics. So everything gets mentioned there in the faculty handbook. Then we have a teacher resource where all the educators, they will get the PPT or the presentation, so they can refer the PPT as well. The way that I am referring, so I am also using the same PPT here. Okay, so I have already downloaded all the material from this website, and so that I can refer, and similarly you can also refer in your classrooms. Correct? So I hope it is clear to everyone that from where you need to download. Now let's start with the chapter 2 here, the algorithms with block coding. So in yesterday's session, we talked about, the introduction and a few coding blocks that we dragged and we dropped it. And after that, we learned that how to code with the help of Minecraft, as well as how to code with the help of MakeCode. I mean the arcade.makecode.com. So we'll follow the same platform, and I will be showing 2, 3 more demos in today's session. Fine. So for second, by the end of this chapter, what the students will learn, that first is what does the term algorithm mean? What is a flowchart? Applications of a flowchart, get introduced to pseudocode, how to solve problems using pseudocode, right? So though faculties, being a faculty, you all are already aware of, those who are all IT faculty here, they're already aware of these topics, the algorithm and the flowchart, but still if we have other subject teachers, so just keeping the perspective of the subject teachers as well, so I will be guiding you again how they can also present and how they will learn what do you mean by algorithm and the flowchart. Correct. Now first is, what is an algorithm? And the algorithm, it's written over here that it is defined as the step-by-step plan. So obviously step-by-step, that we need to keep it in our mind, that an algorithm is a set of instructions also, like whatever the instruction, like your mom says that you need to prepare a cup of tea. And if he is a 6th grade student, so obviously he or she would not be knowing how to prepare a cup of tea. So then in that case, maybe the parent or the her mother will teach how to prepare a cup of tea by providing several steps. So maybe she will write down several steps on a sheet of paper, and then she will tell that yes, these are the steps that you need to follow. Correct. So similarly, because here we are explaining to small kids like 6th, 7th, 8th, so that is why accordingly we need to map with the real world example as well, so that they can easily correlate, right? So algorithm is a set of instruction designed to perform a specific task. And what is the task here? That you need to prepare a cup of tea. So this can be a simple process, fine. Or maybe you can also correlate with your mathematics subject, like yes, if you want to multiply two numbers, so obviously what you will require? So you will require two numbers for that. You require one operations, or maybe the symbols like multiplication, or maybe if you want to divide, plus. So all these things that you need to tell to your kids, so that they can easily understand that yes, here also in system. Now in system, if you want to multiply two numbers, so how you will do that, so that we will learn in today's session. Okay. Now searching for a, you can give one more example here, that searching for a word in dictionary. So obviously these all are the steps that how you will search a particular word in a dictionary. So this is an example of a simple algorithm. So we'll start with that. Then we need to tell them what's the benefit of using a flowchart, and what do you mean by flowchart. So flowchart, here also it is written that flowchart helps to explain your approach towards solving a problem. That yes, if we are telling that you need to add two numbers, so obviously what we require? We require two numbers for that. And two numbers are what? 2 and 3. So what you are providing? You are providing an input, that is 2 and 3. And if you want to give an example, like a same example, like if they want to prepare a cup of tea, so the steps that you have already written, like in the form of algorithm, so the same steps or the same instructions, you may also need to write it in the form of flowchart. But only the difference here is a flowchart is a formalized graphic representation. Fine. So that is like in the form of graph, where we have some or you need to provide a logic sequence, or you can say that a work or a process or an organization chart or a similar formalized structure. correct? So flowchart helps in bringing in a visual clarity to a problem. So it helps in practical problem solving as well. So you need to give them the particular, or you can just tell them that yes, if this is a flowchart and here you are writing that you need to input two numbers like maybe 10 comma 30, fine. Then what you are doing, you are just multiplying 10 multiplied by 30. Then what you are getting the output. So what are these? You need to tell them that these all are the steps. And these steps are not in the form of graphics. So that is why we call it as that what? This is an algorithm that you have written. But the same thing, I mean, here I need to just write it down. That is the output, which is like 300. Okay. So this way, like you are just going to do that. But same thing, if you want to do it with the help of flowchart, then you are going to tell them that there are certain like symbols that we need to follow when it comes to the flowchart. We have like these input symbol, we have the processing, we have like output box, and we have the start and stop symbol as well. So accordingly, you need to explain them first what is the difference or the benefit of using a flowchart. So it's there in the book as well. Now you can just give them this example that are you a teenager? So here what we are doing, we have a start here, then this is our input box where you need to take an input, or maybe you are asking a age from a student or from a child, and then this is the decision box. You need to tell that if age is less than 13, then obviously for a decision box there will be two, or maybe like certain two output. Maybe one is like either yes or no. So if it is yes, then it will print like the child. If it is no, then again further it is checking if age is greater than equals to 13 and less than equals to 19, then it will print that yes, he is a teenager. Otherwise, fine, if he is not meeting any of the criteria, these two, then it will print as adult. So you can explain this flowchart, fine, where you need to tell them that these all are the symbols that we need to use in our flowchart. Correct? This I think you're already aware of. And similarly, if you are just writing a pseudocode also, so you need to tell them that pseudocode is again just to use to describe the steps followed in an algorithm. So whatever you have written in that algorithm, so via simple language, a human language, you can just write like a pseudocode of it, and that pseudocode does not contain any of like the syntax. We need not to worry about the syntax here, but yes, it should be like in a readable form. That here it's written that first it will read the cost price and it will read selling price, and after that it is just checking the condition whether the selling price is greater than equals to cost price, right? And how it is calculating. So from where the program starts and till you need to just tell them like the program ends. So here we have an example of a pseudocode where we calculate if you had profit or had loss, that you need to tell. So again, what is a flowchart that we have just discussed? It's a diagrammatic representation of the step-by-step plan to be followed for solving a task or problem statement. Or you can say a diagrammatic representation, which is made of several shapes like boxes, diamonds, parallelograms, circle, so that we need to guide to all the students. So first we need to make them comfortable, and do not worry, everything is there in the handbook as well. So if you just open the handbook here, so everything is mentioned in this handbook, like what do you mean by flow chart, and what do you mean by the algorithm. So you can just refer the book as well. Okay, so it's mentioned in the book. And here if you see, when we will come to this chapter 1, it starts with the variable. So here also we'll start with the symbol first used in flowchart. So you need to tell them all the symbol here. Like first we start with the terminal and then input output. Then after that we have a processing, decision, connectors, and the flow lines. Correct? Now let's start or getting started with block coding. So before coding, if we just recall the yesterday program that we created, what we did, we just displayed a simple message, that is CBSE session or hello world, right? And how you are going to display a message with the help of this splash block. So from this list box, I have just dragged a splash block box here, and here in this, I have provided a string value. Fine, the value or the message that you want to display. And on the left hand side, what we have the output box or maybe the simulator where it is just displaying the result or the output. Correct. So that this is how, like, we started with yesterday, like the getting started with block coding. So I hope it's like clear to everyone how to do that. If it is not clear in yesterday's session, do not worry. We'll do it today again. Now we have to start with the variables in real life. So first of all, again, like yesterday we discussed about, we gave several examples, like where the coding is being used. Fine, what do you mean by coding? And here we will give the examples related to the variables. Now variables in real life first. So we'll learn how to initialize the variables in programming, then how to validate. So obviously how to validate user input, that will come like, with the decision box or the if statement that you are going to perform, and performing some mathematical operations of different data type. Now let's start with a variable. What do you mean by variable initialization? So before initializing, first we need to tell them what is a variable, why we require, why we need that, isn't it? So as we all know that variable is a way of storing the information in a computer program. Fine. And why we require that? Obviously, if we want to store something, so we can tell to the student that here what we are using two numbers here, 10 and 30, isn't it? So, but if we want to store these two numbers somewhere in the computer, so what we require for that? Directly we cannot provide that. Maybe we have provided a 10, but obviously whatever we are providing any value to the system, so obviously it also has to be stored somewhere. Fine. So how to store the information in a computer? For that we require a variable. Correct. And after that you also can give an example. Let's say this is a container, right? And in this container you have these two values like 10, okay, and then you have 30. So this is like one of the container here. So I'm going to take another one, 10, so that you can identify this is like a container one. So similarly, let's say you have the another container for that, right? And maybe this is a container two. So I'm going to define it again, like this is a container two. Okay. Now here I have given some numbers like 10, 30. But what I need to provide in the container two here. So I need to provide some the value here also. Let's say I have just provided the output here, like 10 into 30, what is that exactly? So let's say I have just provided the output here, that is 30. So how you will identify that where your result is stored, and how you will identify that where your numbers are stored, that or maybe the input that you have provided to the system. So what you need to do, you need to give a label to that particular container, and what that label that I am just going to define it. So you are going to define, let's say 10 and 30, it's basically a label here. That is why I have defined A comma B. These two are the labels that we have defined, like A for 10 and B for 30. And here I have defined a label as result. Okay, so result is again the label of that container we have provided, where we have stored some piece of information. Correct. So now the bachcha can easily understand that yes, that in case of computer or maybe in system, if we want to store something, so what we require a variable first. So think of variable is what, like a container, and the name of the variable as the label that you are providing to the container, that shows that like what is inside it. So variables are used in coding. So now immediately you can just tell them that yes, you are providing A equals to 10. Here you can tell this is basically what, initializing. So you are initializing the value like as a 10 to this particular variable. So A is the variable, that is the label name that you have provided to the container, and to that particular label, you have defined some value that is 10 and how you have initialized with the help of equals to operator. Correct? So this way you can define it that a equals to 10. So this is like, the first thing that you need to tell to your kids, to your students. Now, what is variable initialization? To use variables in programming, we need to create the variable and assign it a reference in computer memory. So it's mentioned once we create a variable, we also need to assign it a value before it is used at all, right? And the process of the assigning a value to a variable is called initialization. So you need to tell them that variables are used in coding and programming just to help coders. Who are the coders? Who are writing a program, right? Just to understand, remember, and use the information in the program. Correct? So variables are used in coding as well as the programming. Correct? So that you need to just tell them in a very simple word how to first, what do you mean by variable? Fine. Why we require that particular, the variable, and how we are going to initialize that particular variable with the help of equals to sign or equals symbol. So this shows the name of the variable, which is like, the label on the container, and the values that you want to store, that is the information, which is there inside the container. Correct? Now, a variable initialization continued here. So this we have already discussed. Now in some programming languages like Python, there is no command to declare variables. So this is again a good part, because earlier might be like those who are the IT teacher, they are already aware of that. Yes, we need to declare the data type as well, that what type of value that you are declaring, whether it is an int or a string, will come to know, don't worry. But here, as of now, we are like in Python, we need not to define it, like whether this particular values of integer type or string. So what do you mean by that? Basically, like, 10 and 30, that is the number that we have, or we are just using it. But in that case, let's say if I defining or I want to define another container for that. Let's say this is the container 3 for me, right? So I'm going to define a container 3, let's say here. Okay, and in this container 3, I am going to give a name of that particular student who is calculating or who is doing all these operations. So let's say Rohit here. Okay, so now how computer will come to know whether this Rohit is which type of value that you are defining. Is it a name or is it number or what? So that is why we need to give or we need to define a data type also. That in this case, if we are declaring, let me just take that pen. So if we are declaring that this is the name variable, and that name variable is of which type, that is basically a string type maybe. Okay, this value is of like which type, integer type. This is again for the integer type. So you are defining or you are telling to the PC or the system that yes, the value which you are storing or the information that you are providing to the system, so system will come to know that yes, there are different types of values. So how he will or how the system will recognize with the help of some data types or the syntaxes. Correct? So that is why we need to define it here. Example of declaring the variables in Python, how to declare it. Correct? So that's why it will come into the picture now that data types in programming, we have integer, floating point number, and the string and the boolean. Correct? So that you all know, we have just discussed the integer, floating the decimal, string is like, the text or the alphanumeric like address. So address is basically a combination of both where we have a string, I mean the numbers as well or as well as the text also. And the boolean is like for true and false, right? Now, how to validate? So that is basically a part of like in tomorrow's session when you will do the if-else condition where you want to validate your age or maybe any input that you are going to print, isn't it? So that we can do. But performing some math operations in programming like addition, subtraction, you need to tell them that here we have several like symbols that we know, and after that we can perform these mathematical operations to these variables. Okay, now variables using block coding. So now we will do a program, a simple program with the help of arcade.microsoft.com. Okay, so I'm going to switch to that particular window. So let me just open it. I'm going to open that tab here. Let me close all other tabs. Though it is also mentioned in that book, you can refer the activity. Now here I'm going to define the same URL, arcade.microsoft.com. Correct? Oh, sorry, makecode.com. Arcade.makecode.com. Then press enter. Okay, so we have these programs that we did yesterday, basically. Now I'm going to click on a new project. So what I am going to give a name or a project name here, that is a variable. Any project name you can define or you can give, you can allocate. So those who are new, like in today's session, so please have a look or just concentrate so that if you missed like yesterday's session, so probably you will come to know that how to do it. Okay, so I have given first of all the name of the project and then click on create. Right, so this window will get open where you have some stage area and this is a list box. You will just find all the blocks here and this will be your display area where it will show the output. Now let's say on start what you want. So first of all we'll learn how to declare or create a variable because what we require, so our main activity here is just to, let's say, do some operations, means what, a plus b. So what's there in the container here, like the value a is as 10 and b is as 30, so I need to declare these two variables, one is a, another is b. So what I do in this case, let me just take or define a variable. So from the list box, you need to just click on this variable and click on make a variable here. I'm going to define a variable a here. Click on OK. Similarly, I'm going to define another variable for this. So make a variable. Let's say I'm going to take b. Because here in advance, I know that there are three variables, like one is a, another one is b, and the next one is your result. Fine, so that is why I'm just going to define one more variable here, that is result. Okay, so this way you have defined all these variables. Click on OK. Now you see that you have these three variables. Now after that you can set the value as well as you can just change the result by this. Correct. So what you need to do in this case, let me first set, we need to drag this particular block and you can place it here. So similarly, I'm going to place it like this way. Now you need to again set the another variable. Fine. So directly I'm not going to take the result here. What I'm going to take, a variable here. And I'm going to take the another variable as b. So if you want to set the value in advance, you can do that. Otherwise, you can ask the value from the user also. Because obviously I do not want that, every time the summation of these two number. Maybe it depends upon the user. Some student says that I want to do the summation of, let's say, two number like 40 and 50. Somebody says no, 60 and 80. Somebody says something else. So that is why we need to just take care of it. So I will just ask one value from the user, and in the b variable I will define or maybe you can say the predefined, like the value, you can do it like in the b variable. Fine, so I will set the value in advance here in the b, but for a I will be asking the value from the user. So if you want to ask the value from the user, so how you're going to do that? Because that is also very important to understand if you want to do it. Okay, so in this case, let me go to this the game. or maybe I know this is right. No, controller. Okay, because I need to ask the value from the user. So there must be a. So here, if you just talk about, we have the ask. Yeah. So ask for a number and ask for string. So what I'm going to ask here, I'm going to ask the number from the user. Correct? So ask for the number that way that if you see, because then and there it is also going to display here in this particular simulator, but what you see here, so how many numbers by default that you need to enter here, or maybe it is asking for like 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. So by default the maximum length, fine, so it is just providing you that you need to enter how many numbers here, that is the 6. But let's say I do not want, the maximum size as 6. I want to define it as maximum size as 2. Fine. So then what you will do in that case? So that is why in this case, I am going to click on this plus button where I need to define the maximum length. So by default is 6, but the maximum length will be 2 here. Okay. So the answer length will be 2. Now you need to provide how many numbers here? 2. The maximum length will be here as 2. So if you just refresh, now you see only 2 dashes here. So one is like for the first number and another one is for the second number. So this is the maximum length that you have defined to this particular variable, correct? And for the b variable, I'm going to define or set the number as 45, or here what we have, let's say 30, correct? Now in this case, let's say I want to display the result. So how I'm going to display the result here, that is also very important. So in this case, I'll just go back to that, the same variable, and here this time I'm going to set the result. So what I want to set, I just want to set the result to what? I just want to do some mathematical operations. So all the mathematical operations here in this particular math window. So I am going to take the multiplication, let's say multiply, correct? And what I need to multiply, I need to multiply the variable a and b. So obviously from the variable, I'm going to take this a variable and I'm going to place it here. Okay, and yeah, similarly, I'm going to take the variable b and just place it here. Correct? So I think this is pretty okay to all of you that we have just defined one of the, these three variables, a, b, and result. We have just asked the number from the user just to enter, and one variable that I have already defined a value to it, right? Then another variable, that is the result, where it is being used for what? Storing the result of these two numbers, the multiplication of these two numbers, like a into b, right? This is all done. Now next is what I want to do. I just want to print, and in yesterday's session we just learned how to display a message, right? So for that, obviously we must be using a splash for that. What we have? A splash. So I'm going to take a splash here, but here in the splash I just want to combine two things. What? One is the string value, where I can write sum of two numbers, correct? That we are just going to do that, or we want to display. But where my number, or you can say that the result is stored. So my result is stored into this result variable. Yes. So can I define this string with a variable altogether? Maybe I'm just asking a question from the computer teacher. So let's say if you want to print something, So what you do in generally, like you do that print, the sum of two numbers, you just write the message here, sum of two numbers, and after that you just use one concatenation like symbol, maybe somehow it is like plus, somewhere it is comma, and then you are defining the variable. So what you are doing, you are just concatenating these two. One is the sum of two number and the another one is the result or maybe the variable. So how we will do it here? So how we'll do it here? That is also very important to understand how we will do it. So in this case, yeah, so what I need to do, I need to join. I need to use the join block here. And from where you will get the join block? If you go to the advanced and here you have the text block where you will find a join block here. And I'm going to place it here. So before placing, you need to click on this plus so that it will add another string and or maybe a box. Then you need to place it here. Correct? And in this case, here you are going to join it. So what I'll do, I'll just pick this, maybe. So just a minute. So I need to just remove this as well, and we need to place it here. Now here we need to write sum of two numbers, okay, comma equals to. Now here you need to define the result variable. So it is just concatenating two things. One is the string value, as it is it will display, and another one is the information that is stored in this particular variable, that is result. Correct? So in this case, now what I'll do, I will go to this display box or the simulator. Now what I need to enter, I need to just enter the number here. So I'm going to enter how you are going to move from one number to another with the help of arrow key from your keyboard. So from the keyboard itself, you can just use the arrow key just to move from up to bottom, left to right. You can use the simple arrow key. So one is like 1, and after that you need to press a space bar here. So when you press a space bar, so 1 will be there in first dash or maybe in the blank cell. Now the second is, let's say the value I'm going to take, let's say 0. Again you need to press a space bar. It's done. Then again you need to just press the arrow key here and click on OK. Then you need to press a space bar. So how, I mean the output here it is showing as what? Sum of two numbers, which is equals to 300. Quite easy for the students, and obviously they will also enjoy. You can just tell them that in calculator how easily you do that, like you just take two numbers at 10 and 20, and after that you are just getting the output that is 300 in the calculator, right? But in the computer obviously you need to store the information first, fine, and how you're going to store it? With the help of variable, fine, and after that you are just getting the output, and that is stored in this particular variable. Correct. And if someone says that, yes, ma'am, can't we store like directly here 10 instead of asking the number? You can just tell them, but it depends. You need to tell to the student, but it depends, like randomly. Any student may ask any number just to get the output. Then what you will do? Correct. You will not open the code again and again, and then you are going to make or edit or maybe like, make some changes in that. You're not going to edit that or maybe the code. So that is why you are giving the facility to the user just to enter the number of his own choice, and accordingly it will give you the result. Correct? And if you just want to show them that how it gets converted into a Python language, now you see here that first is a equals to game.ask for number. That is the maximum to length, and then you need to provide a number. It will save here b equals to 30, result equals to a multiplied by b, and game dot splash. Yes, here we use what? Plus. Correct? Because we use what? The join block there. So join block is used to join the the first is the string value with the result, the variable, fine, where your result is stored, fine. And that store on with the result variable, by default it is taking off which data type, that is string, fine. So later on also you can tell them the data type, do not make them so much like worry, because obviously student may also say ma'am what are data types, so again and again just a curiosity, it may increase because when you will show something extra they want something extra, isn't it? So that's why. So yeah, it's done with the help of Python. Similarly you can show with the JavaScript, and we have done the same activity with the help of blocks, correct? Now we can quickly jump to the Minecraft as well, because maybe some of again the participants are new to it, like new to the Minecraft. So this will be easy for the Minecraft. So what I'll do now in the Minecraft, I will just write a code in Python so that it will convert, or you can say it will convert back to the block. Okay, it will automatically generate. Let's see how we can do that quickly. So I'm going to open the Minecraft software here again. Done. So we'll just take again few seconds to load it. So all these graphics are there like in the pixel form. Fine. So you see there is a lot of graphic, but still it's not consuming a lot of space. And there is so much clarity in that particular graphic. Yeah. So let's say we click on this play button here. So the first time when you are going to write a code, so what you need to do here, first go to this option, create new. You want to use a template, click on the template, just select the block of grass, click on play. Okay, it will load. It will generate your world. Okay, so it's all done. Now, when you start or you want to do, or yeah, or maybe you just want to write a code, for that what we need to open the code builder. Okay, that you need to press C for that. Which alphabet? C. So when you press C here, so it will just open the code builder, correct? And now again you will find the same interface here. Click on new project. Quite simple. Now I'm going to give a name of that project, that is variable. Click on create. Yeah, by default you will get these two blocks, on start or on chat command. Either you want to perform it without typing this command in the chat window, then you need to write a code here on the start button. But if you want that, first we need to write a run, then only your program will execute. Then you need to place your block in this chat command block. Okay, I'm not going to take this. Now, in this on start, so here how you are going to define a variable? Again, I'm going to take A here, click on OK. Very simple. I mean, it's same. Click on B. So what we have, we need to just set the B here, or might be I can just take these two. So one is A, another one is B. Here I'm going to define the value, let's say 20, and here it is 30. Correct? It's all done. So now what we want to do it here, we need to just write a code, again the result, the third variable which we require. So what you need to do, you need to go to the variable, and again I'm going to click on this make a variable, and here I'm going to define as result. Okay, and click on OK. Yeah, and set result to. Now here when I just want to set a result to, what I want, these two variable. So then you can tell to the student, see it is there in the computer memory. That is why whenever you want to use it, or you want to reuse the value, so you can just take the variable name, because it is easy for the coders also just to understand that you have defined two variable A and B. Might be he would not be able to learn like the value, that which value he defined in that particular variable. So that's why. And now the next variable I'm going to take here, the result which I have. So here, but instead of A first, what I need to do a math operation. I'm going to take this math. This time, let's say we'll do the summation of two numbers. I'm going to drag and then drop it here. Go to the variable here, click on A. Yeah, and similarly, I'm going to take a variable B. Yes, and the next time here, if you want to display, so how you are going to display it, the value. So instead of splash, here we can use the say block, right? And in this say block, if you want to again display what? Two things. One is the string value as it is, the same message, and the another one is the result. Fine, the variable name. So how you are going to do that? So for that, let me go to the join button. So from where we'll get the join block here, not the button, it's a block. Yeah, here it is. So say, let me place the block, and here I can write the same sum of two numbers, correct? And here what I need to add the variable, because where your result is in this particular variable, that is result. Yeah, it's done. It's quite easy. And if you just click on execute, you see the output somewhere 50, right? You see at the top that the sum of the two number is 50, correct? The output that you will just get that. Again, you can open the code builder, and if you just see the code in Python, you'll see how simple it is, correct? If you want to write, like maybe, let's say what I'll do, I'll just copy this, fine. So I'll copy it, maybe, yeah, from here. So not now what I'll do, let me go to the block again, and I'll just remove everything, correct? So what I need to do now, first I'll just take a start block here, or maybe you can go to the Python directly. You can just type the code here as well, like a equals to 10. This way also you can do that, because it's not a big deal just to write a code as well. So one is like a equals to 10. Similarly, you can define, let's say b equals to uh, 20, or maybe any other value that you just want to define it, correct? So let's say what I'll do, I'll just copy the same code which so I need to write a equals to 20, b equals to 30, then I need to write result equals to a plus b. After that, what I need to do, player dot say. So here I need to define this player dot say in the Python, and the sum of two numbers plus str till result. So this is basically, if you do not want to display the result right now, let's say I'm going to remove this, then what will happen? Let's say this one, correct? And if I go to the block, you see that automatically it will also generate or add all the blocks here, correct? It's interesting. So you have the start block by default, you have these three variables, a, b, a result, and the sum of two numbers. Here it's not using the join because I already deleted. So what I'll do now, I'll just go back and let me just press Ctrl Z. So let me just use this str, and what's that basically? That is the result. Okay, so this is how that you can just do that. If you just go to the block, because you have just added a plus symbol, now you see that it has also taken this join. So it is just going to join the sum of two numbers and then the result. So it depends. Here it has just added to join. So instead of to join, you can just take the result only. Correct? So not join. Now you go to the Python. So somehow if you, or it's showing, the multiple things, so you can make changes further in the blocks, and automatically it will be reflecting in the code as well. And if you are writing a code, then automatically it will add all the blocks. Fine. So the vice versa is there, like from blocks to code, from code to blocks. So that is why a student will also see the difference. if for them, if some of the students are really very intelligent, if they want that just to write a code through Python, right? So you can just tell them that they can start with the Python, a equals to 10, b equals to 20, and if they're comfortable with the block first, they can write, and then they can easily get the information like what is the syntax that they can use if they want to write a new program. Correct? So I hope this program is clear, like in both the applications that we used. One is the arcade and the second one is the Minecraft. Correct? Okay, so this way that you can probably do that. And I was not able to, there's one question that somebody is asking, like, I was not able to sign in with my Microsoft account and joined as anonymous. Will I be able to get the certificate? See, all the certificate related issue, if you have, what I'll do, because I'll just share the today's code and the certificate, and Ankita, like from our team, she's also sharing one link where what I have done here, I'll just show you. I have created, so I have just created this PDF document for you all. Fine, I will be sharing, or maybe Ankita is sharing the link with you of this same document. You can just open it, and where you will find all the steps how to redeem. So the first step says that you need to open the browser education.microsoft.com. Correct? After that, you need to enter you need to sign in with your mail ID and password like Outlook ID or Office 365 ID. If somebody is asking that they do not have the Office 365, do not worry. You need to just create an ID with the Outlook one. It's fine. So how to do that? You can just type the URL outlook.com and create one. Fine. So you can create a new ID. And once you have created, like, or maybe you can just sign in with the Office 365 ID as well. Now let's say you have, when you sign in, you need to click on the circular icon on the top right corner. So it's there on the top right corner. You need to click on my profile from drop down menu. Correct? Now, when you click on my profile, you will be getting one option, that is the redeem code. Either you can find this option in your profile, or maybe you can directly click here, redeem achievement code. Fine. So you can just follow any of the option here. Correct? And once you will click on this redeem code, you need to enter the code. Here the code is also mentioned, and Ankita has also shared the same PDF document with you all, where you will find the same PDF document which I am displaying. Correct? So you will not find any changes in that. And this is the today's code. So Ankita, if you just share this code and then paste it there in the chat window as well. Correct? And after that, so somebody is asking, like, even though if you have redeemed the code and certificate, it's not displaying. See, generally what happened, because it's an auto-generated certificate. Sometimes what happened, like, let's say if you're already attended maybe the last year session, the same session with the same, like, the topic name, then you would not be able to get the again a new certificate with the new date, right? But yes, it will be reflecting in your transcript. So similarly here also, but in case in few of the IDs, still if it is not reflecting any of the code, because for the 2 hour session, yes, it will be giving you some of the certificates like MIE as well as the coding related certificate. But in today's certificate, it will be reflecting in your transcript. So please go with the transcript. And in your school, if you want to submit, so in that case, please submit your transcript also, because that also says that you have attended this 1 hour training or 2 hour training, where the description is also given that which type of training that you attended. Okay, so because that is why for some of the like the courses, there is no badges and there is no as such, like the certificates. So that is why. Correct. But if you want a kind of participation certificate, maybe you can just connect with us and then probably we can give it to you, and then but you need to use the transcript for that. Okay. And here we have the my profile again, and you will get the certificate. You may just download it, And after that, there is a feedback link survey again. You can just copy this feedback link, and Ankita, you can copy, and then you may please provide the valuable feedback again. Fine. So everything gets written by Ankita here. And if somebody wants to change, somebody is getting the certificate with the unknown name. So what you need to do, let's say you have created an account in Outlook. So what you need to do, you need to go to this account.outlook.com. Fine. Where you need to go? Account.outlook.com. Correct. And then press enter. Here, if it is not giving, let me open the same outlook.com then. No, not from here. You need to go to that particular ID. Where is that? Here. Yeah, you need to go to this My Microsoft account. That is account.microsoft.com. Let me open that as well. Account.microsoft.com. Yeah, so it's what? It is account.microsoft.com. So Ankita, you just please copy this URL as well. So what you can do, you can just copy this account.microsoft.com, this URL, where it will just show you, maybe it is not reflecting your name and it must be giving as unknown name. Fine. So in that case, what you need to do, click on this particular icon and your info, where you can add a photo and you can also add your full name here. If it is displaying you as an unknown name, then click on edit name, where you need to provide your first name and last name. So the moment you are going to change here your full name, then automatically it will reflect in your certificate. Fine. But when you refresh that particular screen, okay. So this is how, like, if it is displaying or showing with unknown name, you need to go to account.microsoft.com, and then you need to change your name from there, and or maybe edit, and after that you will be able to get the certificate with your name, actual name, not the unknown name. Correct? Fine. So everything is shared in the chat window, and so that's, I mean, this point is also clear. Okay, so Sarika is again asking from, I mean, please share the CBSE link from where we can see the teacher's handbook. So, Ankita, please share again the CBSE academic.nic.in, so that they will find the particular. Okay. Yeah. So anything related to that, you may please connect with us. I know maybe there's some delay, in responding, like on your mail ID maybe, but definitely you will get the answer, or you will revert you, right, with the correct information. Okay, and we will be uploading all these recordings also, so that you will also receive an email of recording of all these sessions. So do not worry, because obviously once this one session will complete, or maybe the two sessions, because these coding sessions are in continuation. Okay, so that is why what we will be doing, we will be sending an email like to all of you with all the recordings, like day one recording, day two, and day three. So do not worry. If you, even though if you have missed, so you can go through the recording. Correct? So thank you once again. And yeah, anything related to, I mean, this all we have covered with the help of example. Correct? The code and the feedback. And yes, in case if you need any further assistance, Ankita, you just please type the email ID, enter the email ID, and then probably will revert on it. info@cyberdictiontechnology.com, or you may also enter or write to Neeti@cyberdictiontechnology.com. Correct? So thank you once again for your valuable time that you have given to us, and I hope you enjoyed today's session as well. And keep, like you can say that, enjoying, or maybe like tomorrow again we need to connect at 3 o'clock for the other session. Okay. Thank you. Have a great day.